I want us to talk a little bit about hidden rules. All of us have rules that are a part of our lives, and we just came to know what they were when we were growing up. Nobody ever said, here are the rules for our family. Let's go through those. We had a rule in our house that my dad, who was a pastor, had to be asleep at 10 o'clock. So by golly, you better not make a sound at 10 o'clock. That was just a rule. We knew that. Some of my friends didn't know that, and if I had somebody come over and spend the night and I forgot to tell them, they broke a hidden rule, and the next thing we knew, my dad was clumping out of bed, coming to the door, pounding on my bedroom door and saying, you girls are going to have to keep it down, I'm trying to sleep. You know, that was just a hidden rule in our house. Well, people in society break hidden rules all the time if they're from a part of society that doesn't know that rule. And there are more hidden rules in the workplace and in education than anywhere else. A classic example, we have a retired pastor here, I'll give a church example of a hidden rule. You know, if I've never been to church ever before in my life, ever, and Charlotte invites me to come to church, and she's been inviting me for years, and finally one Sunday, I've got nothing better to do, I head to the church. I might slip in the back, and I might want to make sure that Reverend Mason, who's filling in that day, knows that I'm there, even though he's up in the front. I'm way in the back, and he may not see me. So I kind of wait for the moment, you know, when I could let him know I'm there. And there's all this stuff going on. In his church, people are standing up and sitting down and kneeling down, and the choir is singing, and all kinds of things are going on. And suddenly there's a little lull. He has just talked, and there's a little lull for a minute. Nothing seems to be going on. So I scream from the back row, Charlie, can you believe I'm in church? I just broke a hidden rule big time. If there's anybody sitting close to me, what are they probably going to do? Glare at me. If there's a lady right next to me, she might pat me on the knee and say, don't do that. But how would I know if I've never been to church? Well, there are all kinds of hidden rules, and different people from different socioeconomic groups look at them differently. Let's look first at food. If you live in poverty, quantity is important, and the key question is, did you have enough? I know a lady who serves on a board who's grown up in generational poverty, and they took the board out of town to do some work in Washington, D.C. And when she got back, I asked her how the trip went, and the first thing she said was, we went out to eat at this beautiful restaurant on such and such a night. And I said, was it great? What did you order? And she said, I don't even remember. I just know that when I left, I was hungry. Said it was pretty. It was on a little plate, and it was all piled up real poofy and pretty. But she said it was awful. She said I ordered what I thought would be a large portion, and there wasn't enough to get by on at all. I was really disappointed, and I found that very interesting and very telling. People in middle class are concerned about the quality more than people in poverty are. You know, how did it taste? Did you like it? People in wealth sometimes, and again I'm talking about patterns, I'm not trying to group people into small pigeonholes, but people in wealth might be more concerned about presentation. You know, the in thing now is to make the food in a tower, and you have like 4 or 5 layers of things. Presentation is very important, and you pay for that in a nice restaurant. Another issue in terms of hidden rules is time. In poverty, the present is most important. You're more focused on concrete things which happen now, and you can't even think about abstract things which are going to happen next week, next month, next year. You can only focus on the here and now because you've got to get through today and you've got to get through tomorrow. In the middle class, the future is the most important. We kind of look out and kind of have a 2 to 4 year time horizon. Yes, we're going to go to Europe. We've been saving up. We're going to do that next year. And yes, we are planning that this year our daughter's going to transfer from Ivy Tech to Ball State, and we're saving up, and our son's going to try to go to this school over here. And you know, you've got this long range thing going on. In wealth, you're concerned a lot about traditions and history, and some of your decisions are based on decorum. And the last one we're going to look at is destiny. We've already talked about this. When you're in poverty, you believe in fate. Sort of, oh well, nothing good ever happens to me. Just going to keep on going. You can't do much to mitigate change. In middle class, you believe you have choices and that you can change the future making good choices. See how that relates to food? Up here, whatever will be, will be. Here, you can change the future with good choices. And in wealth, it's noblesse oblige, which is that as a person who has money, I have certain obligations to share my wealth with others. And so people in wealth very often are very generous with their money. A couple of just wrap-up things, and then I know the ladies are ready to take back over, is you're going to have to really watch yourself and not create a condemning model. Saying something like, Angelina, I can just tell by looking at you that you don't eat right, for whatever reason. Maybe I say that she doesn't eat enough, or she eats at her desk. I happen to know she eats at her desk. She's our intern this semester, and I've seen her do that. Or I can make a judgment about somebody's size and say something that was kind of unkind and certainly parental in tone as opposed to adult. Those cookies have 260 calories in each one. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you're eating those. But if you speak and talk in an accountability model, you're using supporting and encouraging words, and your goal is to make people aware, not to condemn them, not to judge them, but to make them aware. How's buying that bag of cookies going to get you to lose the 38 pounds you told me you're trying to lose? And that's what we have to do a lot with people in poverty. We don't need to be saying, I can't believe you're back with that guy, for crying out loud. We need to say, do you really think that fella is going to help you reach the goals that you've been talking to us about for the last few months? It's a totally different way. It's a parent voice versus an adult voice. And you need to work with the people that you're talking to as an adult speaking to an adult. Let's look at the other things on our page and see if you have any questions. Stages of change. Do not assume that the people that you are going to be sharing this information with are ready for action. Don't assume that they have come there with the idea in mind that starting today, our family will ever after eat in a healthy fashion. They may not be there at all. They may be in pre-contemplation. They may be thinking, well, yeah, I kind of think maybe we ought to do this, but I'm not sure. I'll just go to this because they've told me about it, and I hear we're going to get a bag of stuff from Second Harvest. I'll just go, and my friend's going to go with me. Maybe they're in contemplation and they're seriously thinking about them, and you help them move into action. Wouldn't that be good? That would be great. And then, of course, there's maintenance and relapse. When you go to Weight Watchers and you reach your goal, they don't just turn you loose and say, you're skinny now, go figure it out. They have an opportunity for you to come back repeatedly and to use the resources that they have helped you build in order to stay successful.